Hello everyone, and welcome back. Thearosen here with another League of Legends guide, this time spotlighting Amumu the Sad Mummy. In this guide, I will be taking Amumu into the jungle as a bruiser CC tank with a focus on disrupting the enemy team rather than dealing straight damage. Amumu's kit is perfect for this with a few types of CC, AoE damage, and damage reduction. Let's dive right on into his abilities. Amumu's passive is Curse Touch. When Amumu basic attacks an enemy, he reduces their magic resistance for a few seconds, increasing his and ally AP champions' magic damage to a target. This is good for clearing your own jungle and in ganking, and if your mid happens to be coordinated with you as well, you can go ahead and easily melt down threats in teamfights. Amumu's Q is Bandage Toss. This is a straight line ability that passes through terrain. If you hit an enemy, champion, minion, or jungle creep, you will pull yourself to a target and stun them for 1 second, as well as deal magic damage. This is great for ganking over walls into a lane, as well as for escaping. If you happen to find yourself in a bad engagement in the jungle, you can toss your Q over a wall at a jungle creep and juke the enemy. Amumu's W is Despair. This is an AoE ability that has continual drain centered on Amumu. Despair will drain your MP every second while dealing magic damage to the enemy. This ability is a bit unusual in that it deals small flat damage, scaling AP damage, as well as percent max health damage to the enemy, making it useful in a team fight to go ahead and whittle down their tank without actually having to go ahead and focus on them, and this also gives you a bit more clear inside your jungle. Amumu's E is Tantrum. This ability gives a flat damage reduction to physical damage taken passively, helping out a lot in your early jungle before you get the items to go ahead and tank it. Actively, this ability does an AoE around Amumu, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies, and each time Amumu is hit, the cooldown on the active part of Tantrum is reduced by a half second. Amumu's ultimate ability is Curse of the Sad Mummy. This ability you will need to use selectively, for effectively it stuns all nearby enemy units for 2 seconds. This is really useful in engages both for ganking as well as teamfights, but it has a relatively long cooldown, 150 seconds at rank 1, 130 seconds at rank 2, and 110 seconds at max rank. Beyond this, it can be difficult to pull off successfully if you're too upfront about it or use it too often, for most enemies will go ahead and spread out whenever you're around to avoid a full team stun being performed, so you will need to be sneaky to go ahead and pull this off properly. The way I level up Amumu's skills is E at level 1, W at level 2, and Q at level 3, ranking up E first, Q second, and W last. This may sound a bit odd because I ranked up W last, but I found over time through trial and error that although it is a nice skill, ranking it up first isn't a priority because your E deals a lot of damage as well as reducing your damage taking, and your Q is really useful to have on a lower cooldown to have the utility, and flat damage on your W is pretty nice even at rank 1. This is how I level my abilities in roughly 95% of the games, but always keep an open mind when leveling because the situation always changes. Your typical skill usage in an engage will be to go ahead and hit your W, then go ahead and Q onto your enemy, and auto attack it followed by an E, then smite the enemy and stick onto them dealing continual W damage and autos as well as E when possible. If the enemy starts to pull out and go ahead and ult them. It should be easily secured kill as long as your lane follows you into the fight. The way I build Amumu is similar to my Leona, but centered around jungling. Always start off with a hunter's machete and a health pot. Typically grab yourself a sweeping lens, but if you fear a jungle invasion, go ahead and get yourself a warding totem instead. After this, you will want to rush your machete into a stalker's blade for the active slow and true damage. After this, you will want to build towards either a Cinder Hulk enhancement or a Ninja Tabi, depending on if you need speed and armor, or more HP and clear for your jungle. Some good items to build after this will be Dead Man's Plate, Frozen Heart, Abyssal Scepter, and Warmog's Armor, usually though not in that order. These items go really well with Amumu, especially Dead Man's Plate for the movement speed, with fulfilling his role as a tank as well as giving passive utilities such as Frozen Heart's radius attack speed slow. Some other decent items to keep in mind would be for things such as Lock of the Iron Solari if your support isn't building one, a Thornmail, Banshee's Veil, Leandri's Torment if you need some damage, and possibly a Zonia's Hourglass if your team takes a second or two to follow up in your engagements. Your jungling path will typically to go ahead and start at Gwomp, going ahead and smiting it, and working your way towards the opposite side of the jungle, hitting every camp along the way. You will typically start by going in, auto-attacking once, and then using your E and W, and to just keep auto-attacking till your E is back up. You won't want to go ahead and use your Q much because its cooldown will be too long at this point, as well as being a huge mana drain. Remember to go ahead and also turn your W off in between camps to conserve your mana. You'll keep doing this so you can get yourself an upgraded machete as well as some boots so you can go ahead and gank a lane. Always remember to keep your lanes visible, that way you can see if it is possible to secure an easy kill early on, or if a lane needs some pressure applied to it even if you can't get a kill. This will help even if you don't get a kill, and if needed, go ahead and possibly tax some creeps in return for the pressure if the lane is okay with it. You should be relatively safe in your own jungle early game due to your E passive gain a lot of durability, and your W ability to escape any evade attempts. Into middle game, you'll want to start really putting pressure hard onto the lanes. Look to see which lane is doing bad and camp, camp, camp. Pitch yourself a freaking tent there and set the enemy on tilt. This might not be the most helpful to yourself personally, but setting that one enemy onto tilt can be really helpful to that lane, as well as putting the enemy off for when the teamfights start to happen and turn the late game into your team's favor. A good lane to camp for Amumu is your bottom lane due to your hard CC from your ultimate, allowing for easy double kills in your team's favor, but also while you're down there, be wary for the enemy jungler as well as possible MIAs from middle lane. Always remember to keep on getting yourself dragon during the middle game phase into late game, and with you being in bottom lane and keeping bottom lane shut down, it should be easy to go ahead and put some pressure on a dragon and keep it in your team's favor. Late game should easily be into the teamfight part of the game when it is very easy to go ahead and dive the enemy. You are your team's engagement, so go ahead and act like it. If it's a 2v2 even, dive onto that hard hitter and leave the squishy one to your ally to shut down. If you shut down the damage, the fight will easily fall into your favor, especially with the CC and AoE damage you'll be bringing. The same logic applies to full team fights. Let your team know when you're going to dive, and then die. Attempt to go hard at their ADC or their APC, depending on which one's more fed, to go ahead and shut them down. The enemy team will most likely collapse onto you, which will work to your favor if your team actually follows up into the engagement. From there, it is simple to go ahead and snowball after winning teamfights and push. With your AoE damage, you'll be able to go ahead and push a lane to tower and rotate to another lane and push it to tower as well. And there you have it. This is my guide on how to make your sad mummy into a freakishly happy tank that just laughs at the enemy's whimpers for mercy. Game on, and stay classy.